Everybody hear me okay? All right, so you may have noticed they've put the CX panel right after lunch, which I'm not sure is the best place to think about our customers and the best experience they could have from the panel. But unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do to change that. So what we will promise to do to improve your CX is we will finish on time or a minute early. So hopefully that will be a little bit of a give back and everybody can say the panel delivered and understood CX, because if we didn't do at least that, I think you'd have to question to even know what good CX is. So what is CX? Customer experience. You probably hear this a lot. Certainly as industry analysts, we talk about it a lot in our research. You may see us talking about it in the use of application, data and analytics, low code, automation, contact center. It's kind of all over the place. People talk about CX and what they're doing and how it may tie to it. What we're hoping to do in today's session is bring that to life in a couple very specific industry contexts, some great panelists here. The highest level, maybe the easiest way to think about CX is it's a combination of trying to navigate across three domains. Part of it is what is the brand you're trying to establish? How are you trying to position your company, its offerings, sort of the reputation, the things that are implied, sort of the promise you're making to your customers. There's also the product or service itself. How convenient is it? How sophisticated is it? Kind of how are you designing it to sort of fit with that promise? And then the third dimension is the customer journey. How do they, what is required to consume it? How easy or hard is it? How much does it anticipate, personalize? Kind of what is it like to interact? All of these fit together, and maybe in the most holistic sense that an industry analyst would like, we think of as being CX. And there's many things in there from social listening to customer support, a whole bunch of things that tie together. So what I'd ask you to do during this session is to listen for which of these things are coming through in the use cases the panel is describing. Different things will be more important in each scenario. So with that, Shantha, can you introduce yourself, your role, and then in the context of Carelon, what is CX? What is sort of the nature of CX?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, nasscom, and thank you, Eric, for doing this panel with us together. And it's a privilege to actually be with all of you today afternoon. On a lighter note, I first wanted to respond to the thing that you told everybody on the food and the customer experience. I actually think I should first get the food for me to get the best of experience. And after that, I can have a heart-filling session and listen to everybody. And I hope many of you agree with me on that. Yes? No? At least raise hands so I will know. Good. So that's probably the first experience, I think. But on a good thing, I think the industry that we are in, maybe I'll take 10 seconds to introduce the company because I don't know how many of you know this company. So Carelon Global Solutions is the India unit for Elevance Health, which formerly was known as Anthem. And the business that we are in is we are in the business and we are privileged to serve the community and the consumers that we serve for the US healthcare market. So every person who becomes a member of our health plans, it is our privilege to serve them. So in that context, customer experience, and to make it more precise, for us it's really that consumer experience, which is the finest unit of measure for us. It is about delivering for us exceptional experience in every interaction we do for every single member. So we touch over 119 million American lives through our plans. So, and in India particularly, we support more than 45 million members. So that means every touch point that we touch them, in whichever channel it is, that does not matter. How do you create the best of exceptional experience? And that, for us, is really what we are privileged to serve every single day.
Thank you. Sunil, same question. Amadeus, what's your role, and what does CX mean in the context of Amadeus?
Thanks, Shantha. I think you kicked it off pretty well. So I'm Sunil Kumar. I'm head of engineering for the travel search platform for Amadeus. Just a little bit about the company itself. So Amadeus is in the business of travel. We provide technology to pretty much entire travel ecosystem, right? Which consists of airlines, airports, railway operators, insurance operators related to travel, and so on, right? Now, though we sell our technology to businesses, our end consumer is always the traveler, right? And we touch the traveler in pretty much entire journey from all the way from when he starts thinking about travel to all the way by the time he finishes the travel, right? So we have many digital touch points. Let's say when the consumer is going to an online travel agent website and trying to book a ticket, to a physical touch points when a traveler goes into the airport and tries to kind of do the automatic backdrop, right? So we have many touch points across the entire the traveler journey, as we call it. And what CX really means for us is how we can make that the entire traveler journey, right, traveler experience more seamless, more frictionless, and more personalized.
All right, so public service announcement for the group. So if you notice, we have healthcare and we have travel. They're complicated services. They can be highly emotional. CX is very important in these two segments. So as we go through this, hopefully you'll hear some good color on how you deal with those things where people can kind of be on edge. Generally, these are also high economic situations, so there's a lot at risk for people. We don't talk about CX for a candy bar, okay? We're talking healthcare and travel, right? Complicated and complex interactions. How do you use CX to both compete and to even differentiate from others?
Excellent question, Eric. I think in terms of, I would rather take the differentiate part of it first. I mean, the industry that we are in, I think many of you or some of you know, the equivalent industry segments, peers, are Aethnas and Cignas and all of them, Highmark and many others. But I think today in the healthcare industry, there are so many newcomers. I mean, you can also look at Amazon, you can also look at Google. I think there are so many of them, and literally every single day, on an average, maybe more than 200 plus health apps are getting built somewhere or other. So which means almost every other person on the planet somewhere is looking at doing something with related to tech and how can we solve problem for healthcare. From a differentiation aspect, because we are in the business of making sure that we have right level of health insurance plans that is affordable, that truly can create a health outcome. Now, in that context, the segment of population that we deal with, even though it's a US market, it probably applies to across the world. We look at health plans which are comprehensively covering dental insurance, people with disabilities. We look at palliative care, which is long-term, care treatments. So our constant effort is always to see how can we truly be looking at the member journey or the patient journey in being part of that lifetime trusted partnership, in making sure we are able to provide that service throughout. So that means if there is an ability to provide a whole health as a way of differentiation, that's exactly what we are focused on. So our differentiation is in the comprehensive health plans we bring to market to truly impact the healthcare industry in having comprehensive health plans that can serve all the varieties of plans, all the varieties of community members. And that in our context, we call it as whole health. In terms of competition, I think we absolutely want to respect the competition. I think there are a lot of areas we partner in the industry. There are a lot of areas we kind of work with. But I think more than competition, I would rather like to say everyone has, this is an industry where you have an opportunity to impact people's lives. And hence, our clarity of our strategy, our clarity of thought process to really make an impact to every single life, and the comprehensive health plans, comprehensive transformation of being a health insurance to a healthcare company, our integration to patients, providers, bring it all together for us to truly solve problem. And end of the day, industry has got numerous problems. Our industry, healthcare industry, has got tons of problems. I think every one of us are doing our space of what we can do to the industry, but in our group, we are fairly clear about the way we want to transform and truly impact whole health as a way of really impacting the industry.
Okay, so give me one example of something you've done to improve CX in the last 1 or 2 years, just very specific.
So if you look at the industry, I think I'm sure all of us can relate also. Like I walk into a hospital, I have to fill a form or I have to fill up an enrollment experience. So maybe first time I go, I subscribe myself, I register, then I probably check for a health plan. Do you have a claims coverage? Do you have a health plan coverage? There's a lot of these typical steps. So one of the things we have done is, especially for the market that we operate on, which is the US market, is completely digitized the complete consumer experience, right from being a member enrollment all the way to getting them the demystify the health plans, make it easy for people to understand. There's a lot of AI-based interventions we have put within the health benefits so that people can easily interpret the plan, and also make sure there is doctor-provider appointments, making sure the track of the medical record, almost everything that you can think of in this member value chain is something that we have completely transformed, digitized, AI-based interventions that helps to create a member experience. In our industry, the CX is all about that member experience, to really make it seamless, easier for the person to really get the respective health outcome that they want. Because at the end of the day, you walk into a hospital, you don't want to go again. You actually want to be just back at home and rest and be better. And that's exactly what we're focused on.
Okay, so switching to your clients like to travel again, so they're not trying to get out and stay out. Tell us a little bit about how CX applies for Amadeus and how do you use it to compete and differentiate?
Yes, so for us, Carrick, there are three broad themes, right, for the CX. One is customer centricity, one is personalization, and the last one is sustainability. Now, a little bit more about each of these themes, right? So when I talk about customer centricity, it's really about being agile to understand what your customer needs and meet those needs, right? Because what we believe is that, and in fact it's true probably for all the industries, right, is that your customer needs are constantly changing. It's changing with the technology, it's changing with the evolution of the industry and so on. And I just talk about the aviation industry, right? Probably some of you are too young to remember, but if you like 20 years or 30 years ago, right, when you have to book an international ticket, right, it used to be like a multi-day affair, right? Several trips to the agencies or the airline office. At the end, you will get like booklet this thick, which would have like 20 pages, right? And from that point, fast forward today, the needs of consumers are totally different, right? So when a traveler is going to a website, is looking at to get the multiple of options. They are looking at sub-second responses for those options. When they walk into the airport, right, they are looking for digital passports, digital boarding pass, automated backdrops, and so on. So for us, the customer centricity is probably the one key thing because a lot of our strategy drives around that. The second is the personalization. And why personalization? Because today's generation is Facebook, Google, Amazon generation, right? And they are so used to getting that tailored or the customized responses when they interact with these platforms. And travel is no different. I think they have the same kind of expectations when they interact with the travel websites or the travel consumer, the ecosystem, right? So when you kind of go and let's say try to book a ticket, the traveler today, they are expecting for us to remember the choices, the preferences, right? What kind of class do you travel in? Is it business, eco? Do you normally prefer lounge access? Do you normally prefer Wi-Fi, right? And so on. And for us, I think it's very important to understand all of those, the personal choices from the traveler, and that's what the personalization is the key theme. And the last one is the sustainability. We as a company is quite environmentally conscious. We have a goal to be carbon neutral in next 5 years, but the more important point is that today's consumer is actually very, very environment conscious, right? So when they're looking for travel choices, they're actually looking at like, can you give me like the carbon cost for each of these travel choices, right? Can you give me the choices if I can travel through train for some of the legs rather than like, traveling entire journey on the air? Because rail, frankly, is a more greener option. So that's why I think it's important. These three themes are quite important for us, and our whole CX strategy revolves around that.
Great, thank you. So you've spoken about this sort of for the overall company. Can you dig in a little bit, to a little bit of depth on how is your GCC contributing to kind of what is the role, how has that evolved?
Well, our journey is probably very similar to, I think, most of the GCCs that have experienced here. So we are around 11-year-old in Bangalore, in India. When we started, we started just like anybody else here. I mean, supporting our headquarters. We moved on to contributing to some of the key missions, and eventually now we have several key mission ownership in India. Uh, uh, and to be able to do that, we had to kind of build a lot of key roles in India, right? Roles like architects, product managers, a UX specialist, and so on, to be able to do that. Now, at present, we have a lot of global owners as well as global leadership in India. Now, in our case, I think one thing that has kind of worked for us is the proximity to the consumer, right? Proximity to our customer, which is airlines, airports, and so on. And as you know, that India is a very, very vibrant aviation ecosystem, right? We are operating multiple airlines. A lot of new airports are getting opened up. So we are, in our journey, we have kind of leveraged that. We have created opportunity for the leadership here, for the engineers here, for the product managers here to work with the customers, right, who are present in India. And that's how we kind of build and matured, I would say, our company. The customers actually played a huge role in our case.
Interesting. I actually have a little different view because we don't have, like I said, we don't work with the India market per se. But of course, we appreciate all the India healthcare innovation that we have done in the industry, and I think we are doing our bit of contribution there. But I think unlike the India market aspect, for us, Carelon Global Solutions, this is our 6th year. So we started in 2017. It's been a very young company. There are a couple of colleagues here in the room representing us, and there are a lot of partners in the room who work very closely with us. I think what has made a huge difference for us is our people. I think the way we were able to take the services, set up, establish, like every other GCC maturity that would have started. I think we saw this wonderful report in the morning case we shared on this outpost to satellite to transformation. I think there was this wonderful report that he shared. I think we've kind of gone through the journey, but I think the one difference for us, as probably unlike any other GCCs here, I think that entire journey for us has happened exponentially, like 3x or 4x or whatever, because many GCCs, I think when they introduced, they said they are like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I think we are in 3 cities in India. We are close to 18,000 employees all across all the 3 locations. But the most important thing, of course, we are very, very proud of our talent and the people, completely healthcare professionals. But I think what makes us very unique is every single day, the higher purpose. The important interest is all the respective people here, the capabilities that we have built is on all the new age technologies, the digital, cloud, data, all the generative AI that we are talking. We are emerging on some of these centers of excellence here. But the other aspect of it is we actually manage and process a particular patient's processing right from here. So enrolling a member for a health plan every year and convincing the member to make sure that the health plan is very comprehensive for them, and working across, not just in India, working across India, Philippines, Ireland, and Puerto Rico now, like basically 4 different countries coming together to serve for that kind of a member enrollment. And also to make sure every claims processing that you do, because there is always a patient at the other side standing on the hospital or standing for a processing, making sure that it's a fair and the right payment that's being given. All of these are all processing that we do from here. So I think what makes us every single day, I think what makes us very inspiring is the ability to be able to contribute to that whole health impact every day. And I think that is the leadership we have been able to instill here, the capabilities that we have been able to put here, and the centers of excellence we have created, the operating models that we have transformed, has truly positioned us to create that value, including some of the innovation partnerships. So some of the solutions I talked about here, and there are close to about 500 plus different care assets that we have actually built from India. And I think that is driving a lot of value-driven escalations and conversations, because at the end of the day, the only big question that I think every single person in our organization asks is, it's a privilege to serve the industry, so what's the industry problem that we can take and solve together every single day? So I think that gets us to really be very motivated and inspired on what we can make a difference. So all the platforms, solutions, the business operations services kind of strives towards that particular outcome, that are you impacting that patient? Are you impacting that person on the other side on the experience that you can create?
So Sunil mentioned how understanding the domestic travel market has provided some insight and kind of sense of sort of what is the actual experience. You started yours by saying, hey, we don't have that same dynamic. Is there a way that you're trying to help close some of that gap of understanding? How do you try to come up with that sort of sense of what would be good experience? What are the friction points?
So I think for us, because we are tapping the US market by and large, and I don't think our strategy is not currently to look into India market. I think we have got enough problems to solve for the market that we are already serving. So by design and by strategy, I think that's where we are going to be. And the single philosophy that we work with is health equity by design. I think that's a single philosophy that drives us for the market that we have to solve for. And I think the industry by itself has so many issues to solve for that I think we want to take it. But having said that, the entire talent, every single talent that we have built here, unlike few other GCCs where I've heard a lot of expats come here to India and things like that, we are built on entirely an India-based leadership. And almost all the leadership that we have built here and grown here, including the healthcare professionals, I think everybody has kind of grown, evolved from here. And that has been our biggest differentiator. But the one strategy that we are actually taking in the last 18 months is, while of course we have created an identity for ourselves to what we need to serve for the larger US market as one team, serving as one Elevance team, the strategy that we are adopting now is, how can we help more of those kind of healthcare clients? So we are actually expanding within the US market to actually go across to other states, other clients, on how we can help solve problem for them. Given our experience of what we could do here together, how can we expand and contribute for problems for the other clients? So our strategy has been to expand as a commercialization strategy, to take some of the learnings, our professional insights on healthcare industry. I think somebody talked about the most important thing is understanding the business. It's technology will come. You can always solve every problem with some technology or other, but the most important thing is to understand the business. So we are bringing that combined differentiation of business and technology as one unified operating model, so that we are able to go beyond Elevance as well and help solve problems for other healthcare clients as well. So I don't think we are going to go into the India market per se. I wish, Sunil, of course, more on that. We will do our bit, absolutely, as a company. We are doing some aspects on that for India market, but as a business, as a growth, we may not be focused right now, but expansion within the US market is what we're focused on right now.
If I may, because I think we are working in a very, very different industries, right? So even though your customer base is not here, is there any way for, or do you have any current practices to kind of expose your leadership, your engineers, your business folks to kind of expose it to the US customers?
Yes, I mean that has been always a practice. I think most of our people here, there are many member interaction that they do. There are also a lot of, like Dr. Devi Shetty was speaking in the morning here. So we have a lot of partnerships, startup partners, where we are very focused on. And I think our ability to understand India market from the healthcare practices also helps our people to fuel a lot of innovations. Because I think India has been always this, I think we are those people, we will find a way to, we have enough constraints and we also have enough ways to find opportunities, and we have enough opportunities to, and India has built one of the biggest ecosystem of the startups today, and we are very privileged. In fact, I saw Abhinav in the room somewhere, so there is Fluid AI, there is quite a couple of startup ecosystem which we are leveraging and tapping on for us to take a lot of innovations from India which we can market and build in for global innovations as well. So there are few of those aspects which we are already practicing as well. So thanks, Sunil. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Sunil, kind of last question, and then I'll give you the same chance. If you're to provide advice to others that are earlier in their journey of trying to influence CX for their organization, what advice would you have?
Well, I would say the first thing, if you have a customer base in India, sorry about that again, do leverage that, because I think we have seen a huge value, right? And there's a notion that that most of the industries, they actually follow the West, but in travel, what we have seen is it's completely opposite. there's a lot of innovation that the Indian customers are driving, right? Take example of Bangalore airport itself, right? They were the first one, or actually one of the first one to drive the facial recognition-based technology for check-ins and so on. So leverage that if you have an opportunity to do that. If not, maybe find some means to expose your leadership, your technical teams, your business teams to the actual customers. Because end of the day, customer experience is all about customers. Second is talent. I think as a GCC, we have a lot of focus and we are actually very, very successful building the deep technical expertise. But in our case, what we've learned is that the domain expertise or that functional expertise of travel was absolutely necessary to get to that next level. So I think these two things I would highly recommend from my perspective.
Good one, Sunil. I did land yesterday night. Terminal 2 is really super cool. So yes, indeed a great experience. I think first of all what Sunil said, I will first endorse it. I'll add just two perspectives to that. I think one is for all the GCCs, I think the higher purpose. I think what's the purpose that is driving everybody every single day? And I think that's going to be very important, whether you do CX or you do anything else also. I think that's going to be very important for people because that drives a lot of those exponential experiences. Because you want to always push, what is it I can do differently at that point of that last mile? And I think that makes a huge difference when you talk about experience. So I think I would say higher purpose and make it extremely clear to people. I think the second one that is really going to make a difference is it's a thriving talent. So how can you make sure that the talent is every single day inspired for bringing those nuggets of ideas, and how can you create that culture whereby they're able to bring that to make the difference every single day? And we can go on with a lot of lists, but I think those two are going to be absolutely important for us to drive in this hyper-connected world.
And also, I think there is a cultural aspect, right? I think especially for GCCs, when you're trying to kind of build ownership, build those critical missions ownership in India, is having that culture of that risk taking, right? There's always going to be that first mission, ownership mission, which is going to be very, very risky. There's always going to be that first global initiative, which is going to be very risky for whoever leads that, right? And unless you have that culture of risk-taking, it's going to be very difficult. So I think that probably as a third point I would add.
I think, Eric, you have not touched one topic, but maybe it's important for everybody to have, I think, which is, I think there was this person who spoke on 2 sessions on security. So I think the only aspect, I think in an industry like ours, and ours is a highly regulated industry. So I think one of the important principles is secure by design. In terms of architecture, systems, platforms, I think that's going to be so important, especially in the platform where we are touching members, providers, electronic records, so many things we are touching on somebody. I think it's extremely important for us to have, so we have a lot of protocols where we have I think our principle is zero trust. Basically trust nothing, validate everything. In fact, many a times it's about reject, only approve by exception. I guess that is going to be very crucial because of the data and the data interoperability challenges our industry highly goes through, complemented by a lot of regulatory aspects. Sorry, I just thought it's important. I think we mentioned that.
Good. Thank you. And I want to thank both of you for your insights. I think we actually finished right on time, so hopefully your CX was indeed good for your after-lunch intellectual warm-up, and look forward to interacting with you after this. We're not going to take any questions at this point, but we'll continue to be around, and if you'd like to catch us afterwards to ask us questions, we'll be happy to answer that, particularly if you offer to buy us beverages and other nice things, we can be bribed easily. So with that, thank you.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to nasscom YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.